And when you thought it couldn't get any better, it does. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of PIM, Partners in Marriage. I'm part of the host, John Godbolt.
And I'm Vertel Godbolt.
We're so glad to have you with us again as we are being transparent. These sessions about mistakes that we made and all those different things that we believe that really makes a marriage work, and it will help you as well, we believe. Now, before we get into the next session, we want you to please go to our website at www.partnersinmarriage.com. Peruse through it. Also, if you want counseling, there's a way that you can hook up with us and set an appointment up online, and we can do premarital counseling, intervention, just conversations to help you and your spouse, future spouse, maybe ask the hard questions that you're afraid to talk about, that gut feeling that you're bothering you. We'll talk about that too, okay? That's important. And if you want us to do workshops, speaking engagements, whatever, that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you, your church, your family, your friends, whatever group you're working with, we can help them, I believe, don't you?
I do.
Okay. Now, here is session number 3. The biggest mistakes we made raising our children. Are you ready for this? Watch this. To church, to church, to church, to church.
Absolutely. And that's the way I was raised. That wherever, most of the time, wherever mom and dad was, that's where we were. If daddy had an appointment, we went. And so most of the time, we say, when I get old, I'm not going to be like my mom. I'm not like my dad. I'm not going to do the same things. Yeah. But we absolutely do. We replicate what we saw. And that's what we did. I didn't even think about leaving them at home or hiring a babysitter or any of those things. We took our children to church. And during that time, during a lot of the time when they were growing up, they were very young and you were in ministry. Now, while there is almost 6 years between the two of them, we took them to church, like you said, to church, to church, to church. And I can remember they were sitting on the back seat doing homework rather than being at home in the bed. And what I should have done, looking back, hindsight is 20/20. What I should have done was said, Bae, you're running a 5-night revival.
Yes.
So I'm going with you 2 nights. Maybe Wednesday night, which is, normally a church night anyway, and then Friday night because the kids can sleep late the next day because these children are in school. And but they didn't have that luxury because during that time, we didn't know. And we're always saying we got to love and we got to respect our children because they have souls and they are human beings. They are little people. And we should have explained to them sometimes maybe why we were doing what we were doing. Give them a voice. Ask them their opinion. I was afforded that as a child. My mom did not care if we asked a question that might have been digging into something that they were doing, as long as we did it respectfully.
That's the point that we wanted to bring up, and that was when we were raising them, the mistake we made was, and again, I take 99.910% of the responsibility because I felt like I had to be in charge. But being in charge, everybody had to go to church. And the guys understand now, I'm an evangelist. I'm not leaving them at home. I'm dragging them up and down the highway. We're driving sometime an hour plus to a location for a church service. We get there and we are in church until 11 o'clock or so and driving back home, and they're in the back sleep. I mean, there's too much at that point. But what we were trying to do was to be good stewards over our family. I was, but did not realize that there has to be a separation again of my responsibility as a pastor, a minister, whatever, and taking care of my family.
Exactly.
There has to be a dividing line. And the truth of the matter is, when I look in the Word, long before there was a preacher, long before there was a church, there was a family.
That's right.
The first structure that God established, institution, was the family.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And that balance was not there. So the biggest mistake we made was not understanding, as young people, young folk, we got married 21 years old. You were 21? 22. 22. I was 21. She's a few months older than me, but don't worry about it. We don't want to hold that against her. But what we, being so young, all we had was what our parents taught us. And they taught the best they could. But their generation was just one generation out of slavery. Think about that. So everything that they taught us was how to stay alive. Keep your kids close to you and don't let them do X, Y, Z. So we came out of a situation only 2 generations removed, and Jim Crow was still there. We grew up in Jim Crow, and almost we were teenagers by the time Jim Crow was over. But the point was, a lot of things that we learned about life was based on survival. And the Ku Klux Klan, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're in a society, a time where we have to be balanced, but not so far away from the church and wholesomeness that we make our lives and what we want to do the center.
Rather than church or the Lord.
Right.
Yes, and that's, you can be good people. You can be good people. I praise God every day for my children. They turned out well. They are not a menace to society. They are good people. And they love church.
Yes.
They still love church. They didn't grow up and saying, if I ever get out of this, I'm never going to church again. They did not do that. And so we're grateful, but I still apologize to them. I say, I'm so sorry.
Me too.
Because we grew up, some of the things that we put them through, we did because of where we were going to church.
Yeah.
And they didn't believe in certain things. And so anytime you under a leadership, if you're going to be there, you need to follow, what the teaching is. And so that's what we did. But some of it was just over the top.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. So
as you were talking, I'm thinking about the point that we were making about love and respecting them. As I see it now, I see that true respect would be understanding their feelings and the difference between the two of them, respecting their abilities as being different, the worth of the children. That was not something that I spent a lot of time in. It was like, look, I'm feeding you and taking care of you. You're going to do it because I said so.
Right.
Mentality.
And that was not right. It was not right. Yeah. But now we know better. Right. And we always say, if we had had our grandchildren first, then we would have been better parents on the front side. Because you see a lot of things differently through grandkids. You really do.
Yeah. Because love is intimacy. And as I think about it, during those days, I didn't know how to be intimate with my son and daughter. I knew how to be the guy who provided the food and said certain things. And thank God I was not that bad, but I'm not trying to give myself a whole lot of pats on the back. But we did do lunch with them at schools and attended all of the meetings and the sports and
went to their games
all that
and
sort
all
of
of that.
Stuff. Yeah.
But we prayed with them. We told them we loved them and all of that. But just some of the things that they had to go through that other kids did not have to go through. And that makes them feel bad, because...
And targets.
Yes, and targets.
Yeah. And bullying as well. So we see a lot of things that we could have done, and that's what we should pay attention to. And get all the information you can from other sources so that when you decide to have children, or you may come into a relationship where one already has children, you've got to be able to walk through that thing safely. Guys, guess what? Our time is come and gone again. And remember, marriage is not a destination. It is a journey of love.